What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Breaking the Base, the 88th episode. And in the 88th episode, we are going to be talking about Dragon Ball Z versus Bleach. Now, me and Zach are anime fans. We enjoy a lot of great anime, fantasy, romance, drama, slice of life, action, adventure. Well, you know more about anime than I do because you don't know more about anime, but you watch more anime. But we live on here too. That's what I'm talking about. But anyways, but we're going to have a sit down and we're going to talk about two of the big five, which you could say kind of went down to big four, but now it's big five because Dragon Ball Z is kind of relevant again. But
yeah, Bleach is not.
And since you've seen more of Bleach than I have, and I think I've seen more Dragon Ball Z than you have, but just go ahead and play off of that, and we'll see where this discussion takes us. Now, go ahead and give your first impressions of what's going on, what you expect to see out of this.
What do I expect to see out of this?
I don't mean to see, but like impression, like what is this like discussion that should be had?
I mean, I expect to
win, crush the competition.
Kind of like just compare and contrast each one.
So I can't be overly competitive about this one.
I mean, you can be if you want to.
Crush the competition. Let me stop. But yes, we're gonna have this discussion, and first, for those who don't know what Bleach is about, I'm gonna go ahead and let him explain.
Bleach is a pretty simple concept of basically when you die, their afterlife is you basically get brought to the Soul Society, which is where you basically live out a second life, I guess you could say. But in that second life, you can choose to become what's called a Soul Reaper. But to become a Soul Reaper, you have to have a certain amount of reishi, which is like spirit particles or whatever. And you have to go to an academy for, what was it? Quite a while, I know, to train in different arts like your sword, and what they call Keto, which is, I almost fucking forgot what Keto was for a second. And then I guess if you pass everything, you become a Shinigami, which is basically what a Soul Reaper is. Shinigami and Soul Reaper are basically one and the same. But as a Soul Reaper, your sole duty is to basically ferry souls from the human world to the Soul Society after they've passed on, performing a konso, as they call it, which is basically you take your Zanpakuto, which is your sword, and you make an imprint on the soul's forehead, and then they're then transported to the Soul Society, and that's your basic job as a Soul Reaper. But then there's also, the Soul Reapers have a kind of like a military structure in the Soul Society where they basically protect the Soul Society from hollows and things like that, and they also do it in the human world as well.
Hollows are evil spirits.
Yes.
Or spirits of people that got corrupted, I guess you could say.
Corrupted, were not allowed into the Soul Society because of things they might have done in real life. Which you would think, well, you get sent to hell for that. Which there is a hell, but the only time we've ever seen hell in Bleach was in the Hellverse movie.
Which we will include in this discussion.
Which I'm kind of disappointed in, to be honest. That was one thing I was disappointed in about Bleach, was the fact that we never saw the aspect of hell until the Hellverse movie came out, which is their latest movie, so it was only just recent, kind of, that we actually saw that aspect of hell for once. Because other than that, about the closest we ever got to hell was Hueco Mundo, to be honest.
And it sounds pretty cool. Hueco Mundo. Hueco Mundo. Hueco Mundo. I still can't say it right.
Well, at least you're not saying Hueco Mundo.
See? Go Hueco Mundo. Alright. Dragon Ball Z follows the adventures of Goku and his friends as they attempt to protect the Earth from a variety of villains, and everything from aliens to cyborgs and androids to demons.
Heavily based on the action.
Yes. And their main source of power is what is commonly known as chi. And through training, martial arts, and discipline, you can increase your chi to boost up their physical prowess as well as unleashing special attacks.
Kind of like how a Soul Reaper would train with their Zanpakuto to better understand their Zanpakuto, and the more they understand it and learn it, the more powerful they become with it.
Yeah, I'm just messing with them. All right. Now, in the overall story, Bleach mainly follows Ichigo Kurosaki, right?
Yep.
All right. Now, the story surrounding his character and his interactions with the Soul Society. What are we going with that? What are your thoughts on that?
Like where he ended up?
No, I mean like what's the story surrounding it?
Oh,
because we're gonna go right now. We're gonna be like, okay, which one has the better story?
I mean, when Bleach first starts out, Ichigo Kurosaki is your typical high school student. You know, I say typical, but he has like what you would consider a normal high school life or whatever. He seems to be smart and active. The dude's ripped like a motherfucker. Although you don't really get to see too much of his regular school life until, Rukia steps in, and he can already... Normally you can't see Soul Reapers if you don't have spiritual energy or you don't have those powers.
Which Japan is heavy on.
Yeah. But Ichigo's dad was a Soul Reaper, so Ichigo also inherited those abilities. So when he sees Rukia come into the world, who's a Soul Reaper, and she basically helps save his family from a hollow attack, but is injured in the process, then out of an act of sheer desperation to save his family, she thrusts her sword through his chest, transferring her powers to him, basically waking up his quote-unquote dormant Soul Reaper powers, and saves his family through those acts. Of course, then that turns out to be a transfer of Shinigami powers is illegal in the Soul Society. So then Rukia basically gets put to death or sentenced to death, and then Ichigo has to go save her. And that's basically the whole first season, which everyone argues is the best season of Bleach. They're basically saying after, the rescue of Rukia, they sort of basically ended Bleach right then and there. But there was so much more to go on, and I'm glad they did.
And as you know, I borrowed the DVD set from you, so I only seen the first season, and I've seen bits and pieces of the Waco Mundo.
Also, don't call it Quaco.
Look, I don't know. The Aco Mundo, or
Waco.
I'm just gonna say Mundo.
All you gotta say is Hueco.
I'm saying Mundo.
Think of it as a Spanish term, because that's basically what it is.
I'm not Spanish.
I'm not Spanish either.
But yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of when they go to go fight the Arrancar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the Arrancar are basically the evil counterparts to the Shinigami.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think when it comes to Dragon Ball Z and when it comes to Bleach, I think Bleach has a better solid story.
Well, Bleach doesn't tell its storyline through sheer action alone, the way Dragon Ball Z kind of does. Because in Bleach, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of action in Bleach, but there's also a ton of downtime in it too, where it's just the characters talking and getting to know each other, and a ton of character introduction, like a ton of it. And then going on their backstories can take up entire episodes alone just for one character. And Bleach's character line is so extensive that, there's so much to tell, and yet so little time to tell it because, of course, producers are scrapped for time. They have to get episodes out when the studio tells them to. And that was one of my biggest disappointments with Bleach, is how Bleach ended, how the anime and how the manga has finally ended. they ended it so prematurely because there's still so much to tell. But you know, the studio basically told the author, "Hey, you need to wrap this up now because it's been going on for years now, and it's about time it's been wrapped up." So there's still much to Bleach that should have been told that we haven't been told, and it's not entirely the author's fault. It's more the studio's fault, and I'm kind of disappointed in that.
Because, you know, I think the idea... see, I think, like I said, when Bleach, the stories are a bit more solid. Because even think about it. The whole execution of Rukia was kind of a ruse. It was something else that was going on.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was something going on in the background.
And you're right. And Dragon Ball Z is more action-based, so you don't really get that depth of story.
Yeah, there's not a lot of depth to Dragon Ball. It's purely in-your-face action. Hey, watch us fight. Watch these gigantic energy blasts that can wipe out half a planet or even an entire planet. But
that's not to say that the story itself isn't interesting. Like,
it's the way they portray it.
Yeah, it's nothing really like a compelling. There's really nothing compelling.
Yeah,
it's always okay. A bad guy shows up. We gotta fight him. That's it. There's nothing.
There's nothing going on in the background. There's no side things going on. There's no like.
Exactly.
There's just nothing else to pay attention to other than that one thing that's going on right in front of you.
Like this would be a good example. In the movie The Return of Cooler, Goku and Vegeta were fighting Metal Cooler. But what was going on outside of that was Piccolo and Krillin and them were inside the big Yeti starship thing, trying to figure out how to stop it. Like that. But you're right. In Dragon Ball Z, we don't really get too much of that. The closest thing we kind of got to that was the Namek saga, where with Gohan, Krillin, and Bulma went to Namek to get the Dragon Balls to wish their friends back. And there were so many different factions that were going on. Like, you had those three trying to get the Dragon Balls. You had Vegeta trying to get the Dragon Balls. You had Frieza trying to get the Dragon Balls. And you know, then it had all of these different interactions. Okay, these three end up meeting some of Frieza's bad guys. Frieza's bad guys end up meeting Vegeta. These three end up meeting Vegeta, and then all of these Namekians are kind of getting caught in the mix. That's about as complex as really in it. I mean, I guess you could say the whole Cell saga, where Trunks came from the future to try to prevent his, to try to change the past to prevent his future, was kind of interesting too. But it's really, you're right, there's not really any complexity to the Dragon Ball Z storyline. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not really complex.
Dragon Ball Z is something you want to go to if you just love instant action and you want to get to the action as soon as possible. And all you want to see is the fighting and the action and the crazy over-the-top stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, Bleach can be over-the-top too, don't get me wrong, but it's not on that level.
Like planets being destroyed level.
Yeah. Maybe some of the movies in Bleach, some of the Bleach movies have been pretty intense, but even then I don't think they're that over-the-top. Nothing like what Dragon Ball Z pulls off.
Yeah. And like I said, it's an interesting story about the Saiyans. But one thing I would say, another thing Bleach has over Dragon Ball Z is the backstories. They're a lot better. Like all the villains have like backstories. But in Dragon Ball Z, as cool as the villains are, you don't know crap about them. You don't know where they came from, why they're doing the things that they're doing. You know, Frieza, for instance, one of the most well-known anime villains. You don't know what the hell, how he grew up, where the hell he came from, or anything like that. How he became as powerful as he is, you don't really know any of that stuff. Really, the only villain that you really get backstory on like that is probably Cell. You find out that he was created over like a 20-year period, and then he also came back to the past to try to become complete. But that's about it. I mean, give me some. Let's talk about some of the backstories when it comes to Bleach, like Aizen. Like, what's his backstory? What's going on with him?
Well, according to Aizen, when it's finally revealed in...
Yep, that was me.
When it's finally revealed in the Winter War arc of Aizen's abilities, his true abilities and the true nature of his Bankai, it gets really complex in that sense because apparently everything he has pre-seen everything that's happened up to that point. He had seen everything. His Bankai basically allowed him to see everything and transcend everything that had happened up until that point. And basically everyone was under this mass illusion of his because his Bankai basically manipulates every single sense of the human body. And he was able to... He knew about Ichigo Kurosaki. He knew about his dad. He knew about his mom. He knew everything about Ichigo. Even before Ichigo became a Soul Reaper and before Ichigo gained his holification powers. It's like he had foreseen everything.
And that goes back when we were saying about, like, in the first season, there was something else going on in the background, and it all falls into that.
Basically, Aizen had become something of a god, but he also believed that he transcended those that were gods. So I don't know. Like I said, when it came to Aizen, it got really complex real fast.
And like one of my favorite characters in Bleach is Grimjaw, but you end up kind of getting a feel for his past, and what was it? Him and his group, all they wanted was like, what was it? He joined this group who were trying to acquire power, and then, which was kind of messed up. He had to turn around and kill him.
Yeah, because...
Well, they chose it. They was like, well, kill us so you can get stronger. I was like, no, kill them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was following his own path kind of up until the point when Aizen and them invaded Hueco Mundo. Because when Aizen and Tosen and Gin reached Hueco Mundo, they basically made that place their bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost kind of like... It's kind of like they chose the strongest Iran cars there and just kind of told them, hey, kill off all the weaker ones. Which is basically kind of what they did, and that's how they became as strong as they were. And in exchange, they were allowed to join Aizen's elite team, which is how they made the team that they did in Hueco Mundo,
okay.
Which was the same team that Ichigo's team had to go fight when they went in there to rescue Orihime, which I never really understand why they wanted to rescue her anyways. I'm sorry, but Orihime is useless.
Okay. Since we got on, we was talking about the action at a certain point. You think Dragon Ball Z had better action?
Dragon Ball Z's action I liked a little bit more than Bleach, actually, because their action was fast-paced. It was exhausting to watch because it was so intense. And the thing about Bleach's action is they have a lot of fights, sure, but a lot of those fights are very slow-paced. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of monologuing, there's a lot of storytelling within the battles itself, and you might, in most battles, you'll see a sword swing, like, once every paragraph. Some of the more intense fights, like when it was Ichigo versus Byakuya or Ichigo versus Renji, now those fights did get very intense, and they were kind of fast-paced a little bit. And you felt like they were both really giving it their all, but you don't feel that in every fight.
Yeah. And
in a lot of the smaller fights, it's like everyone goes to their full power way too fast. Like, in some of the movies where their fights were like freaking 10 versus 1. Oh my god, just Byakuya shows up out of nowhere and just instantly activates his Bankai and bam, wipes everybody out like it was nothing. Those fights I don't like because it's just like, what was the point?
Yeah.
So some of the fights in Bleach don't feel like there's really much meaning to them, and they're slow-paced. Whereas Dragon Ball Z's is just in your face, fast paced, like they're giving it their all, but they don't go all in at first.
I think, and even I want to bring in the movies too. I will say again, the movies do reach that complexity with their stories. Kind of like my favorite one is the Diamond Dust Rebellion. It wasn't just a full out like battle the whole movie. You know, it was things that led up to that.
Yeah.
And Dragon Ball Z, the movies are awesome. What about half of them? I'd say half of them are good. The other half are about trash. Maybe a little over half are good. But like you said, there's nothing complex about them. Which that was one of the problems. Like the Tree of Might, one of my favorites. While they're fighting, there's like nothing going on. They're like I was thinking this is how it should go. There would be the bulk of the fighting, but there'd be somebody in the background trying to destroy this tree. Or trying to do something, but you really don't get that. But yes, I will say, and I'll admit, yeah, the fights are not only just like more faster, but I think they're more like bigger on scale.
Yeah.
So that it does. And if we're gonna go with the action like this, what about humor? Because Dragon Ball Z is known for its humor too.
I think Dragon Ball Z's humor kind of kind of far outstrips Bleach. Bleach is a lot more serious most of the time, unless you're counting their comedy relief characters like some of Ichigo's stupid friends from his high school, like Kiego. That dude's a fucking moron and he's pretty much useless. But he's only there for comedy relief most of the time. And a lot of the fillers for Bleach, you get a lot of comedy in their filler episodes. And unfortunately, Bleach does have a lot of fillers.
Do the fillers feel like they actually, no pun intended, do the fillers feel? Do they feel like they actually contribute something, at least to the setting? Because Dragon Ball Z has some fillers too.
The only filler from Bleach I actually liked was the Zanpakuto Rebellion. That was the only filler I could actually get behind and say that was actually a good arc. It didn't actually contribute to the story itself for the main arc, of course, because it's a filler. Mm-hmm. But it had the best story out of all of the filler arcs that had ever been made, because it actually showed the perspective from the souls within the Zanpakutos, which give the Shinigami swords their powers. Because they're actual characters, they're just infused into these swords, mm-hmm. which give their Zanpakutos their abilities. So it shows how these powers could actually be manipulated by somebody who actually is very adept in an art like that. And that was one of the best fillers in my opinion, because that was so cool to see the Shinigamis, the Soul Reapers, basically lost their powers because they couldn't use their Zanpakutos anymore, and they were fighting against their Zanpakutos.
Wasn't that the guy that was wearing like the overcoat?
Yes.
Okay. And that whole city thing that's inside this Ichigo's sword. Well, they was in that fight, and he was in there trying to fight that guy, but he started fighting Hollow Ichigo.
Yeah. But that was his inner world, as they call it.
Okay.
That's basically his inner world where his Zanpakuto resides, which is basically within every Zanpakuto. Every Zanpakuto's inner world is different. And that's basically where the Soul Reaper will actually go within themselves to communicate with their Zanpakutos.
Okay.
Ichigo's world is underwater most of the time because Ichigo's that type of character who beats up on himself and gets down on himself a lot if he fails. And your inner world reflects those feelings. So you think deep, brooding, and despairing and depressing. You think something, you think you're underwater. You feel like you're suffocating, which is why Ichigo's inner world is mostly always underwater. Which Zangetsu is always trying to tell him to, hey, lighten the fuck up. Yeah.
I can't really think of any like filler arcs in Dragon Ball Z that was like worth. Like they had the Saiyan, they had the Garlic Jr. arc, and I like Garlic Jr. from the movie, but him being in the series, like that little arc they put in there for him, really didn't contribute anything to it at all. And there was the Great Saiyan Man saga. That was just a waste. Sure, it was nice seeing Gohan kind of going to like actual normal society and having to interact with people and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But him trying to be like a superhero and all that stuff, and him, I was like, really? That's what y'all going with that? And he was, I mean, it was humorous. It brought some humor into it, but it's, at the same time, it's still kind of like stupid. It was corny and stuff. Like and what you see a lot of in Dragon Ball Z, they did a lot. He was doing poses all the time. But I'm not. Some shows I can get behind. Is just the ones in Dragon Ball Z really didn't entice me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I didn't see really any of Bleach because I suck. But that's okay. All right, then. This is the big one. Characters. Who has more memorable characters? That one's a tough one.
I kind of want to say Bleach does because their character list is just so massive. I mean, there's literally, I have 2 books at home on the characters of Bleach. Both books are about that thick. And none of those characters repeat themselves. So it's literally, I mean, it's a lot of pages of characters. We're talking about 2 books about that size. So...
But I don't know, like, when it comes to Dragon Ball Z, like, do I count just Dragon Ball Z or do I count the entire thing?
Are you also including the
Dragon Ball, the GT,
and
Super,
which I heard is so terrible.
If it wasn't for the power scaling thing, it'd be better. But I'm like, I don't. As far as characters, in numbers, I don't know. I don't want to go by numbers.
Now, then you say memorable though, and the thing about Bleach is they might have a massive character list, but a lot of them aren't exactly all that memorable.
Because when you think about it, who do you think when you think Bleach? You think about
you
Ichigo.
think about the main. You think about the main cast.
Yeah.
You think about Ichigo, Chad, Uryu, Orihime, Rukia.
I don't even think about most of them. I think about Ichigo, Rukia, Byakuya, what's that guy? Kenpachi, Renji.
Basically all the captains.
The cool people.
And maybe some of the lieutenants.
I don't know, but you know, Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, they all been, and maybe because they've kind of had maybe like a 10-year head start, but they're pretty well known, especially like Goku, characters like Goku and Vegeta. And then you got the bad guys too. People know who Boo is. People know who Cell and but when I think of really the villains, any of the villains from Bleach, it's normally Aizen, Grim, and the whole, what's the guy's called again? The Rancor. That's pretty much it. But I don't know any villains.
I mean, even some of the Rancor though were kind of useless.
If it ain't Ukiora or the chick with the water, which I keep forgetting her name, or Grimjaw, that's it for me.
Like I said, there's so many Bleach characters, but most people aren't going to pay attention to most of those characters because some of them were defeated so easily, like almost. Well, no, people will remember Yami. He was one of the largest of the Rancor. It actually took Kenpachi and Byakuya to take him down.
That black dude that turned into a caterpillar?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said caterpillar, but
that's what he looked like.
I don't know what the hell else to call him either. I think that fight was pretty funny though. You got to see 2 egos. You know, Kenpachi's ego, craziness ego, just savage ego, and then you got Byakuya's pride, both clashing, but they both have to also. It was kind of funny because they were fighting each other and fighting Yami at the same time, and Yami was like, "What the hell are you guys doing? Fight me!"
All right, if you could go with any team, would it be Team Ichigo or Team Goku? And I ain't talking about the whole God level Goku or the Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Like, who would you think would win?
Just in their base forms?
I'll say
Because you need to tell me what power scale you want to use.
Alright, we'll say, okay, Ichigo and Goku at that base. Just Dragon Ball Z.
Just with Ichigo Shikai?
With just him regularly.
Yeah, then you're just talking with the gigantic sword. The cleaver looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Shikai. Which, well, Ichigo's sword is always in Shikai form, so he doesn't have a sealed Zanpakuto anyways. I'd have to give it to Goku.
Alright, what about we take it up another? Super Saiyan versus him and his
Bankai?
Yeah. Now realistically wise they wouldn't be able to fight.
No, realistically wise, they would never be able to fight each other.
Yeah, but
for the sake of arguments, and we all know that these comparisons have been drawn a million fucking times, and it's basically split 50-50 on who wins and who doesn't.
Because Ichigo does get quite fast.
But yeah, I mean, Ichigo's got Flash Step, and he's got one of the fastest Flash Steps. I mean, he was actually able to outwit Byakuya, who's known for Flash Step. So,
or we can bump it up and be like, okay, with him with the Hollow Mask on against Super Saiyan 3. I mean Super Saiyan 2.
If he was in his Hollow, I think I would take him over Goku.
I was thinking at least with his mask.
Goku's got some huge attacks, but with Ichigo's speed, I think he can dodge those attacks easily. And Goku might be fast, but I don't think he can outdo Ichigo's Flash Step.
Okay, and then plus Ichigo isn't like... No, he's still alive technically.
I mean, Ichigo's many things. He's part human, he's part Shinigami, he's part Arankar, he's part Quincy. He's part Hollow. I mean, he's literally a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm. And Goku's just a Saiyan. Like if you're gonna go with okay, we'll just go with popularity. Or we'll just go with popularity then. It's just power. So it's gonna be kind of hard. Okay, popularity wise, Ichigo, Goku.
Goku probably definitely.
Byakuya,
and that's because he's been around longer. You said who?
Byakuya, Cool Guy Awards, Byakuya, and Vegeta. Which one you think is more prideful, more kind of a douche?
Oh, definitely Byakuya. I mean, he tried to kill his own sister for the sake of the law and his pride.
I don't know, but it's like Vegeta killed Nappa. But then again,
Byakuya also tried to kill Renji.
Okay.
And that's his long-standing lieutenant. That was his own lieutenant. So Byakuya tried to kill his own little sister and his lieutenant. And that was all in one season.
Okay, we'll go with that. Although that was a pretty cool fight.
And actually, he would have killed Renji had Renji not been saved by something. Something saved Renji from his attack, because Renji was the first one.
No, wasn't it Ichigo? Didn't he get there?
He might have, if I can remember correctly. But yeah, because Renji was the first one who had ever witnessed Byakuya's Bankai. Because before that point, no one had ever seen Byakuya's Bankai, because Byakuya would only reveal his Bankai if someone proved themselves worthy of it. And Renji was the first, and surely should have died from that attack. But then again, so should have, who was that dude? The one you like?
Oh, the one that, threw that bomb that guy face?
Yes. the guy, that was a Yumi Chika that he hit with that bomb.
Oh, that's still funny as hell.
I mean, that guy should have been dead. Because he took the full force of Senbon Sakura right there on that bridge when he was trying to save Rukia. And Rukia tried to tell him to get out of there, and of course he was an idiot. There's no doubt in my mind that he should have been dead. But Bleach, and this is another thing I don't really like about Bleach, Bleach has a hard time killing off their characters. They do not like to kill off their characters.
Not Dragon Ball Z.
Even in the manga where the final Quincy War began, and it was without a shadow of a doubt that Byakuya should have died, and he basically was dead. And then he just comes back, and it's like, why? Why did? I mean, they would kill off Yamamoto, but they couldn't kill off Byakuya even when he was certainly dead.
Yeah.
And for them to just heal, they just have to go jump in this freaking healing pool. It was the same with Rukia and Renji. Both of them were basically dead, and they just brought them back by healing them in this sacred pool of healing.
Now, they did that in Dragon Ball Z basically in Dragon Ball Z, everybody dies. Everybody died at some point, but they all got brought back. And I think they kind of did abuse the Dragon Balls a little bit, because if people can be brought back, it kind of makes them more reckless.
Yeah, and it's like, then why do you care then?
Yeah, it makes the story less focused. But okay, let me ask you this: what do you think about the soundtracks?
Oh, I definitely like Bleach's soundtrack better.
I like.
Well, are you including the intros and outros?
Yeah.
Then yeah, definitely I like Bleach's better.
I like a couple of Bleaches, but I do like Dragon Ball Z's. I like the original ones. I don't like Funimation, because what Funimation did was took the soundtracks and music and stuff from Dragon Ball and then put it in Dragon Ball Z when they redid their voices and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I like the original Dragon Ball Z ones. They were more epic. They're more adventurous. They're more fast paced. Mm-hmm. So, in my opinion, it goes with that. And even with like the voice performances, I like the original Ocean dub compared to the Funimation. And with Bleach, and you were telling me that you liked the Japanese dub better than the English.
Most of the time, I will always go for Japanese dub.
And I hadn't really watched Bleach in the English. I mean the Japanese, but I did watch it in English. And I really didn't have a problem with the English.
I'm sorry, but with Bleach, the Japanese version is so much better because their voices and their tones are so much more intense when they need to be. In the English version, it's like when Ichigo first unveiled his Bankai to Byakuya, all he did was just basically sit there and say, Bankai. So melodramatic. So melodramatic. It just sounded terrible. And if you go back and you watch it in Japanese, he's like, Bankai! It's so much better like that because the energy that's swirling around him and exploding around him would call for that. And his emotions are definitely running on edge because he's about to go against one of the head captains, who's one of the most powerful. And, the emotion calls for that. But in the English dub, it's like they don't give a shit. It's like they're just so monotone and so unenthusiastic about what they're doing. I don't like it. There are a lot of other anime I can watch in dub that are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But Bleach is not one of them. It's not one of them. It never will be one of them. It's just terrible.
All right. Which setting do you feel works more? Bleach's setting of the Soul Society and how it interacts with the Earth, or Dragon Ball Z setting?
Dragon Ball Z setting is a little bit more straightforward. Bleach's can be kind of complicated at times, especially when they started introducing the different worlds, like Mundo, and in the movies they started introducing other worlds that we've never even heard of, and then there's the Hellverse to take into consideration, but you don't have that complication with Dragon Ball Z.
I think it's because it like with space and stuff, and there's really no boundaries.
Yeah.
Now I will say it does feel kind of like a cop out sometimes, because they don't have any boundaries. But when the story does set off, and of course, like when they have to go to Namek from Earth, or with like Planet Vegeta with the Saiyans and all that, I think it does kind of work. But it's like, okay, what's all in this universe? What's all in this universe? And now, but it's more like, okay, we're in this universe. We're in this galaxy. We can go to this galaxy over here to go do this. But it's like, how do y'all know about that galaxy?
Yeah.
But I like some of them. I'm out on the fence with the settings and everything. And I guess finally we'll just go ahead and just drop down to the subject I know you want to talk about: powers and abilities and stuff. Which one had the better? including transformations.
I mean, because they both kind of follow the same criteria. You train and you train and you train and you basically level up and you learn new things. Bleach follows that concept with everything, including Keto, because Keto you'll start out, just learning basic little small attacks, and then gradually you graduate to doing bigger spells, and you don't even have to know the incantation anymore. You can just say it and it works. And then you got your Zanpakuto, which most will start out with the exception of Ichigo, because this is always in Shikai. You start with a sealed Zanpakuto. Then once you learn your Zanpakuto's name, you learn its Shikai form, which is your first ability. Then from Shikai, if you've trained hard enough, you graduate to Bankai, which is supposed to be your most ultimate attack, or your most ultimate form, I should say.
Yeah.
Because Bankai is just a form, but in that form you can have several different types of moves. But usually they all focus around like one or two moves within that set. And then you got different other forms. You got Holification, and then you got the different factions like the Arankars and the what was that one where the anime left off with that group?
You talking about the vampires?
The Execution group, which were like, you can't really call them Shinigami either, though, to be honest, because they didn't use Zanpakutos to fight. They used objects infused with Reishi, but it wasn't a Zanpakuto. It's not the same thing.
Wait, was Reishi that stuff that spread over the Soul Society and faded to black?
Yes.
Okay, I'm remembering.
Which I still say Fade to Black was one of the better movies, next to Memories of Nobody.
Yeah, see, I'm with I like some of the Bleach stuff, but I think I like Dragon Ball Z more because again it's more like their attacks, even though they're kind of exaggerated. Like what was it? You see one episode Piccolo blew the moon up.
Moon.
But I think in Dragon Ball Z they do have some pretty cool pretty cool attacks, like what Frieza has the Planet Killer attack. You got of course everybody knows the Kamehameha. Krillin has the Destructo Disc. You got Vegeta's Final Flash. There are some pretty memorable attacks. And then I do like the transformations because there's like 3 types of transformations in Dragon Ball Z. There's the Ascended transformation, which is what like Goku does when he goes to Super Saiyan. There's like the Changeling transformation, which is what like Frieza does and Cell do. Like when they transform, they actually change. And then you got kind of the buffer transformations, which are like Garlic Jr. He starts out small, but then he gets huge. So when it comes to trust, I like those. And then Bleach has their variations of that too.
I mean, with Bleach, almost everyone's transformation is unique to that one person because all of their Zanpakutos are unique to themselves. So everyone's transformation in Bleach is different most of the time, but the line blurs at times because their character roster is so large. I've seen plenty of times where it seems like one person has an ability, but another person's ability is also basically the exact same. Like Rangiku's power is like this, where her blade turns like into mist, and it's basically like shards of metal in a way, but it looks like sand. And she basically can manipulate that and defeat her foe with that power. But when you think about it, Byakuya's power is almost the exact same thing. His blade shatters into cherry blossoms, which are shards of his blade, and then he manipulates those with his hand, kind of the same thing like Rangiku does. Hers just isn't as powerful.
I think one of the most the coolest abilities in Bleach was Renji's.
Oh,
he has like the most unique
Zabimaru.
one. Like that's really unique.
His was extremely unique. I mean, who other Zanpakuto turns into a skeleton dragon, which fires Ceros from its mouth.
Mm-hmm. And then he can just do it like he can use it like his what kind of sword it is? The chain whip sword.
I guess you could kind of call it that.
Yeah, but he can still manipulate it like that. And
then like the ice characters, it's like a lot of people drew comparisons from Toshiro versus Rukia, and to those that haven't read the final manga, won't know this, but spoiler alert: Rukia does actually learn a Bankai finally by that stage. I think she was the one character that took the longest learning a Bankai, and that was after she was promoted to captain status. But so many people drew conclusions like, oh, well, they're both ice powers, they're so similar, then what's the difference between them? And to be honest, there's not too much of a difference, but Toshiro's, I think, is a little bit more powerful because he's got this dragon of ice, whereas as far as Rukia was concerned, she could only freeze anything within a particular circle around a certain radius, anything from the ground all the way to the sky. But the matter still stands. It's still an ice attack, so they're pretty similar in how they defeat their foes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we had our little discussion of what we thought about which ones were better in certain aspects of Dragon Ball Z and Bleach. So we said what we liked. We said what we didn't like. We compared them, and we had a pretty good discussion because there were still things about Bleach I didn't know that I just learned again. It seems like I keep learning new stuff about Bleach. But
here's the thing, though. Like we said, Dragon Ball is kind of being revived now, whereas Bleach is basically kind of fading more and more and more into the background because it's been over now.
Unless they come out with a new series following Ichigo's children.
Which is bullcrap.
But anyways, guys, in the comment section below, let us know which one of these series is your favorite, Dragon Ball Z or Bleach. And let us know why, because we really want to know why. Also, be sure to hit the share, the like, the subscribe, the notification button to get the best of what's going on this channel. Zach's link to his channel is in the description bar below, so be sure to check him out. He will be doing more uploads of video games. And let him know if you want to do more Overwatch, World of Tanks, or what's going on his channel. And we'll hit you guys later on, and hopefully Madam B and Ken will be here with us for another Break of the Bass. We cranking them out today. But anyways, guys, Narik and Zack, catch you guys later.
See ya.